One.
You're listening to The Mark Cox Show. Follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/The Mark Cox Show.
You think about the numbers that the top line on CBO report today. It basically says that we'll be right back at pre-Obamacare status with about 40 million people uninsured in this country. We believe that the plan that we're putting in place is going to ensure more individuals are insured. So we think that CBO simply has it wrong.
Dr. Tom Price there reacting to the CBO score that came out yesterday. The networks grabbed the negative number of 24 million or whatever they think will be thrown off by the mid-2025 or 2026. They tried to paint it as worse as they could, as badly as they can, I should say, is probably the better way to put that. And there's more to this story. We're joined right now by Leah LeVell. She is a White House spokesperson. And Leah, welcome to the show. You're on the air with Mark Cox and Chris Arps.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you.
I think that it's important that we talk about the American Health Care Act and discussing the importance of repealing Obamacare.
Yeah, I'm interested in your explanation of this CBO score. It strikes me, and I could be wrong here, that this is a three-part process, according to Paul Ryan. This report from the CBO only seems to take a look at the American Health Care Act itself and not the additional steps they plan to take.
Right, and I think that it's important to 2013 that Obamacare would cover. So actually a better plan, and that we already see with just one part of the plan being covered that there will be the deficit will be reduced by $330 billion, and insurance premiums will go down by 10%.
You know, Leah, we keep hearing that 24 million people are going to lose their health insurance through this new plan. But the thing that I heard Paul Ryan say the other day was there may be 24 million people that may not have insurance, but that is because there's no longer going to be a mandate, and that some of these people have chosen not to have insurance, and that's why the number is high. Is that credible?
Oh, absolutely. I think that it's important to note that with the American Health Care Act, there's no more mandates and there's no more penalties. So Americans aren't having to be punished for not having health care. Because we see that just last year, over 6.5 million people ended up paying the penalty for not electing to have health insurance.
What type of, there's people in the Senate, people in the House, congressmen are saying that this bill in its present form, can't pass. What type of timetable is the White House looking at getting a bill to the president's desk?
Well, I think it's important to note that the president is continuously having discussions about this bill and meeting with congressmen. For example, he's meeting tonight for dinner with members of Congress to discuss this bill. And we saw Paul Ryan last week give a full tutorial about the bill. And I think that it's important that with this bill, we're seeing more upfrontness about it.
Leah, is the president confident that he can? I mean, he's known as a pretty tough negotiator. Is he confident at this point? The White House confident that they can overcome the negativity? I mean, you're getting it from all sides. You're getting it from the Democrats. You're getting it from the mainstream media. That's a lot of negative press to try to push through a piece of legislation.
Oh, I think that as we discuss this plan more. At the end of the day, it's all about the American people. Yesterday, the president met with Obamacare victims, people who were directly affected by Obamacare. And so I think we need to focus more on the people that are actually being affected by healthcare than the numbers.
Yeah, there's a big difference between, somebody put this very well yesterday, there's a big difference between claiming that you have health care and being able to use the health care that you have, because the premiums are so high and the deductibles are so high right now. People will have to lay out $10,000, $12,000 before their policy starts giving them any coverage. That's the truth of Obamacare.
Oh, absolutely. And I also think, as I'm a millennial, so I always speak from a millennial standpoint as well. So I think that it's important that this bill also keeps that those under 26 will be able to stay on their parents' health care plan, because just starting out in jobs, it's hard for the younger generation to have to pay $150, for example, out of their checks for health care.
Leah, what a lot of people are not realizing about Obamacare is that at this stage, it's totally unsustainable, that it's going to basically collapse within itself. There are no insurers. I mean, what is going to happen if we do nothing?
So I think it's doing nothing is not an option. And I think that extreme Americans are hurting from this on their health care plans.
Good. Leah LeVell, listen, I appreciate your time and pleasure to have you on the show. Best of luck with getting this pushed through Congress.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Leah LeVell, who is a White House spokesman, and as she mentioned, a millennial. And she has a little different point of view on this, and I'm excited they've got her in there, but she's, 24, I'm thinking, roughly?
And she's also African-American.
Oh, okay.
Which,
yeah.
A lot of people didn't know that. So she's an African-American. She's a millennial. She's a White House spokeswoman. So that kind of nicks the thing that there's no African-Americans in the Trump White House. Right
there you go. Yeah. We know better than that, though. Wanted to get her on here and her point of view. I think the interesting thing about this is I knew when the CBO report came out, they would immediately claim, the Democrats would immediately claim, and the CBO would claim, all these people are going to lose health care. But right now there is a law, it's called a mandate, that says you have to have health care. And if you don't, for example, I found out this year, I don't know if I told you this, when I did my taxes, had I been without health care for 1 month in the last calendar year, they would have fined me $2,500, a tax penalty on my taxes. Now, that didn't happen, but it could have. So the point is that if I was debating, if I was in the healthcare market and didn't get healthcare through work, I would have found a way to get insurance to avoid that penalty. Moving forward, under the American Health Care Act, you wouldn't face that mandate. If you chose not to have health care, you wouldn't have to. And if you go looking for a policy, you don't have to take one that has all the bells and whistles. You don't have to go on the lot at your local car dealer and buy the Cadillac Escalade that's $75,000 or $80,000. You can buy a Chevrolet Tahoe, which is a cooked down version of it, for $30,000. I mean, you have options in the marketplace. Not everybody needs the most expensive plan. That's what they did with the insurance regulations under Obamacare. You had to have 10 different things in every insurance plan, and that's why the rates are going through the roof. That's why I believe if this ever passes, those costs are going to go down because people will be able to buy what they need and not what the government mandates.
Me, and Church do not need breast and pelvic exams in our insurance policy. Well, I don't know. Church.
Whoa!
Hold up.
But, I mean, there's so many common sense reforms that the Republicans are talking about that they've been talking about for years. The whole associated health plans or restaurant associations, manufacturers can pull together and buy insurance for their employees. The whole thing of being able to buy insurance across state lines, which is going to foster competition, being able to have your health insurance be portable with you so that it's your responsibility, so that extra money that your employer pays for your health insurance, they just pay it to you into your salary, and then it's your responsibility to go out and find an affordable health care policy. If you do all those type of reforms, we can get people insured, and I'm all for expanding Medicaid if we have to for indigent people in some cases.
We've got to move away from the belief that health care is a right in this country. It's not a right. You should have access to buy affordable health care if you choose to, but that's got to be your choice. We've moved so far from self-dependence in this country. I said this last week. When the Democrats managed to pass Obamacare, the fix was in, because they knew at that point that they were going to give a bunch of people something for free, and if the Republicans ever tried to rip it out of their grasp, they were going to be accused of being heartless SOBs. And that's exactly what we're starting to see today. The CBO report is just the beginning of it.
How do conservatives, the big question is how do conservatives win that argument? You and I as constitutional conservatives believe that health care is not a right, which it's not. It's nowhere in the Constitution says that you should have that. But how do you sell that to the public at large when you hear cases of people having cancer or going bankrupt because they can't afford their payments or selling life insurance policies?
Yeah, it's not easy.
How do we sell that argument?
There's 1,000 stories out there like that. But if they want to stick to their guns and the strength of their convictions, they're going to have to fight through it. It's the only way we'll ever get rid of this thing. There will never be an alternative to Obamacare that's acceptable to the left.
That's true.
So they've got to ditch it and just put up with the whining, because it's just inevitable, in my opinion.
Kava kava.
There's no way around it.
Kava kava.